Bandwidth for this podcast is brought to you by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
And that's why I like to have my coffee first thing in the morning.
Want to do a shot?
Hey, welcome back to MacBreak Studio. I'm going to need this little jolt of caffeine for what Mark's going to show us next in motion. He's calling it the clamper. The clamper. So just take it away, Mark.
All right. So, yeah, this is good. It's a clamper. It's also a behavior party. A little bit of both. So here's what we're going to build, and then I'll explain why I'm calling this a clamper. Okay. So I'm going to build basically something that shows this little animation, this photo landing on a table. No keyframes involved. Everything behaviors to create this animation.
Behavior party.
Right. Hence behavior party. In fact, I should close that because you just probably saw them all and you know what's coming, but it doesn't matter. So that's the basic idea, and you can take this further by duplicating it and have a lot of pictures fly on the table. But I love this because it uses behaviors, and it uses a particular behavior that doesn't get much attention called the clamp behavior. Thus the clamper. So I'm going to build this from scratch just to see if I can do that in about 5 minutes.
That entire thing you're going to build in one episode of MacBreak.
I'm going to try. I'm going to try here. So I'm going to kind of go.
Right.
All right. So I'm in the generators in the library. I've taken a color solid and I'm throwing it in. I'm pressing Q to switch to my basically my 3D transform tool, holding the Shift key down.
You're making a floor.
I'm making a floor. Yeah. I'm going to drag this guy down so it's a floor. I'm going to drag way back. I'm on the Option key and drag on the left side, which will drag both sides back. And I've got this nice, huge floor. It doesn't really matter how big. We're going to take care of making the edges disappear in a little bit. So that's part one. The next thing I need is that picture that I'm going to throw. So I have a picture here. I'm going to import it. I'm also going to scale it down. I'm holding Shift and Option. And then I'm going to hit R for the rectangle tool. Draw a little frame around that picture. Escape, F1, and hit the hooked arrow to recenter it. And then Command left bracket to move behind the picture.
Let's use the anchor point to center as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I centered it, and then it just moved it behind. Shift Command G to put those in a group, and I'll call it photo, and close that group. Q again. Shift, drag down. There's that photo, and I'm also going to pull the photo up quite a bit because I kind of want it up out of the shot. So now I'm going to add a camera. I'll click the little button down here to add a camera. Switch to 3D, and if we look at this thing from the right view now.
The orthogonal view.
Orthogonal view, yeah. We've got the camera, we've got our picture up there, and then we've got our floor, which isn't quite showing up here. Sometimes you have to kind of go back out. And yeah, there it is, there it is.
Now you see the floor.
So there's the floor, there's the camera, this guy. And I actually want to take the photo and move it back, too, because we're going to have it kind of fly over the camera. I'm also going to Control P to go to perspective view, which will give us another idea of how things look. Okay, so I've got that picture way up in the air, and it's going to fly down and land on that table. Okay. So what I want to do now is how am I going to make it move, okay? Let me zoom out a little bit.
A behavior party?
A behavior party. As I said, we're going to have a behavior party. So I'm going to go to Library, I'm going to go to Behaviors, I'm going to start with Basic Motion, and I'm going to grab a throw behavior and drop it on that photo. And it's a little hard to see here, but the that blue arrow is Z, so I actually want to go in negative Z. So I'm going to go right to F2, will bring me to the Behaviors Inspector in the library. I'll pop this guy open and give it a negative Z value. And I'm just going to throw negative 3,000 in there because I know about what I want to do. And that just shoots it off into outer space. You know, it's just gone.
Without a single keyframe.
Yeah, so Control A if we see what happens now. In fact, I don't need that big a play range. We only need to play about a couple seconds of this. Shift Command Option O, and there it's just flying off, flying out into outer space. Yeah, so really not exactly what we want. So we want it to not just fly overhead.
No, to land.
Yeah, so let's add some gravity.
I was going to say, give it some gravity.
You knew. So I'm going to the simulation behaviors. I'm going to grab some gravity, and I'm going to throw it on that guy as well. And then the gravity.
You need to give it some gravitas.
F2. It doesn't, some gravitas. I'll go back to the sort of camera, the perspective view, and back out so we can see what's happening here. There it's flying, and let's give it some serious gravity. I'm going to give it like 3,000. So it actually falls.
Right through the floor.
Okay. Yeah, now it's falling through the floor.
Yep.
So it's flying over, but it's falling through the floor. So this is what the clamp behavior can be used for. This is what's so cool about the clamp behavior. So what I'm going to do, I want it to stop moving down. Right. I still want it to move forward, but I want to stop its movement in Y. So what I'm going to do is go to its properties, position, open up position, And even though position's being, you can see right there it's moving, it's being controlled by the throw behavior and by gravity, I'm going to right click on the Y, I'm going to choose add parameter behavior and clamp.
So you're really just clamping the Y movement is what you're doing.
Yeah, so watch what happens. I select that and it immediately kicks in, and it's too high, so it's set for min and max. I just want the minimum that it drops down to, and there it is. So now I just need
you can
to
see the graph even changes. Like,
yeah, so I just want to drop it down so it goes. In fact, let's stop playback and move to where it hits the ground. And that's a little too low. So I just want to kind of back it up so it's just above the ground. Okay, so Control A, active camera. Now we've got this thing, boom, coming in, hitting, but it's sliding along the floor forever and just slides off the table. So we're close, but now I want it to stop. So check this out. If I go back to the library, back in simulation, there is a drag behavior. So I'm going to throw that on the photo.
that's going to add some resistance.
Exactly, F2. Now I don't want the drag to start until it hits, so I'll wait till it hits.
And then
Tap I to trim it to there, and then I'm going to set its value to about 5, and you're like, wait, it's not working because it only includes X and Y by default. And we already knew we threw that thing in Z relative to the picture.
Funny
so
it didn't choose Z by default, but
yeah, it just leaves X and Y on by default. So boom,
look at that, boom.
It just slows down. Now my camera angle I don't like so much because we can't really see the picture. Let's tilt it down and maybe look at this from the side a little bit, maybe something like that. We can make this a little bigger, hold the Option key down, and make this a little further out like that.
it's like a table.
Yeah, make it a little bigger. So now, boom, it's coming in and landing. So let's take it a little bit further because it'd be nice, you know, if you actually threw something down, you threw your mail down on the table or threw something down, it might spin a little bit. So let's go back to the library, back to our basic
And
motion
invite the
category.
spin to the party.
Yeah, let's invite some spin to the party. So we'll put some spin on that guy. And you need to think about what spin is right. So F2 to bring up the inspector. Here's our spin. By default, it's on the Z axis. So if I spin that, not exactly right. So let's try Y. There we go. Okay. So now it's got some spin on it.
You need
the thing
another
is,
behavior to control the spin.
yeah, just keep spinning. Like drag stops the motion
behavior to
forward.
control a behavior.
Like behavior to control behavior. So now I'm going to go back to the library and back in simulations. In addition to drag, there is a rotational drag. So I'll put rotational drag on that sucker, and F2, I'll set that one up to sort of its maximum there, about 2. And now that actually stops. I'm not going to increase the spin to see if we can get a little more going on there. Yeah, and maybe
You
I'll
just want a
also,
little subtle spin.
yeah, I'm just going to trim the rotational drag in a little bit. That's a little too much rotation there. I'll back it up. And the cool thing is you can play with this interactively. You know, I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different behaviors on here. And I can interactively say, oh, I want it to throw a little bit further, so I'll just take this value and have it go out further. Or I also want it to throw, besides in Z, I want it to throw in Y or in X. So I can add, you know, I can move it over in one direction or another, all live, all while I'm playing back, and have it do its thing. So this is one thing I love about it. Here's all of the behaviors in the inspector, and you can interactively work with each one of them to get just the look that you want.
Just select the behavior and start tweaking it. It's right there in the the pane.
So really, the only other piece here is I'm going to throw a light in here. So let me go back to the beginning. I'm going to object and add a new light. And the light, let's just go back to the right view so we can see what's going on. So the light right here isn't where I want it to be. I really want it to be kind of over here more and up a little higher. I'm going to increase the intensity. Let's go to perspective view.
It's a point light too.
There it is. Yeah, it's also a point light. That's not what I want. The picture's somewhere. Let's move forward. We can see the picture. There's the picture. So we really want it more over here.
Yep.
And instead of a point light, that'll work okay, but we can make it a spotlight. And we can say, hey, we want you to point down at this thing.
Need some feathering.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to make the cone angle all the way to 0 and then increase the soft edge out like that. So now if Control A to the active camera view,
looking.
now we don't see the edge of it, and we've got a nice little
infinity table.
Infinity table, yeah.
That looks awesome.
And there we go. So, you know, pretty fast and easy way to create kind of an organic looking animation. And then if you wanted more of them, you can just duplicate this whole group of the photo and then replace the content with another photo.
You just drag it on top of the photo and look at the hook and just replace it.
Yeah, and then just adjust the parameters so it doesn't land on top of this one and create a little stack of these guys. So this is a great thing that sort of to me demonstrates the power of motion, where I didn't set a single keyframe and I've animated all kind of things to go on.
All manner of things.
All manner of things, all kind of crazy stuff with a bunch of behaviors and in real time adjusting it, and a lot of fun.
Excellent. So I bet you thought this was going to take like 20 minutes to get
Yeah,
through.
it wasn't too bad.
No, it's
Pretty
awesome.
quick.
All right, well, excellent. So if people wanted to learn more about motion, they would go to rippletraining.com. And he's got a bunch of like tutorials. Like, in fact, he has a big one called the complete series of 17 hours of training. But you can buy him, like if you want to just focus on behaviors or camera, they break down that way. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and check back for new stuff that we're posting all the time. And thanks, Mark, for showing us this really cool clamping behavior, although that's one of whatever, 7.
The clamper.
The clamper. Anyway, so thank you for watching another episode of MacBreak Studio.